I remember there was of course, there was a 619, and then there was the West Coast Pop at the end for the win. Those are the two. Well, I mean, yeah, the finish and that leg drop. Those are the two things that stuck out the most to me. But it was a fun match overall. I went with the 3. I actually didn't get a rating for you on this one.
Oh, I'll go with 3 too. I pretty much agree with what you said.
Yeah, it was another 6-minute match, but as we said many times, it wasn't always about the length and the time and everything. Well, we're not going to beat that to death necessarily, like saying that over and over again. But while Mysterio was celebrating the win, the SmackDown Invaders would arrive to a loud "fuck you" SmackDown chants from the ECW faithful.
Yeah. It was JBL, Kurt Angle, and of course the star of the operation, Matt Morgan.
Carlito.
Yeah.
There were some other ones too.
I have watched this pay-per-view, I think, 50,000 times, and this was the first time I saw Matt Morgan there.
Yeah.
Just to show you, I was like, I didn't even realize that Morgan was part of this. Just to show you how relevant Matt Morgan is.
Well, he looked kind of different, too.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
And so then they would try to go away from them for a moment, and they show another video package showing some other classic ECW moments. And back to the arena, Joe Gertner would appear in the balcony with the SmackDown Invaders, and then he'd try to start with the promo, saying, doing his usual sticks, saying that they were backed by popular demand, and then Kurt would take the microphone from him, and the JBL would just knock him on his ass. Then Angle would call the ECW fans scum. I actually don't even know if we could repeat all the stuff that was said in this.
No, he talked about when he walked out, like how they're a low-class promotion.
He was talking about the time back in the day where he actually was at an ECW show to make an appearance, but he ended up walking out because of he was actually there the night that they did the Sandman Raven crucifixion angle.
Yeah.
So he was appalled by that, and then I believe he threatened legal action against them if they were to air that show with air the part with him being on there and associated with it, because I guess he felt that coming off the Olympics and everything, if he would have found himself associated with that it could hurt his image.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I could see that. And then as for JBL, of course, he had to get his promo in there as well. And then he would take over and he would brag about his name being on the marquee at Madison Square Garden, and because of that means it would immediately sell out, and that ECW could barely fill up a bingo hall, which I don't know, that's kind of a stretch. But
and then he said he is a wrestling god.
Yeah, he's just going off on everyone. He's just going off on their fans being lowlifes and they sit in their mom's basements, and he said that nobody in that ring tonight could ever reach the level that he's at, and then he took credit for whatever success the pay-per-view would have because he was there and he was on it. And the heat that he was getting and the SmackDown guys were getting was insane at this show.
All he had to do was show up, and people were already booing the shit out of him.
Well, yeah, they chanted "fuck you, SmackDown" right off the bat. So then while JBL was going on, he'd be interrupted by Rob Van Dam and Bill Alfonso. And Rob Van Dam would come out to One of a Kind, which was his WWE theme song, although it would have been cool if he would have came out to his ECW theme song.
One of a kind, I see man.
Look in your eyes.
I love that song.
Oh, no, it's
one of my
one.
favorite songs.
Oh, mine too. Van Dam had
it would have been cool with the
oh, yeah. Oh, man, that would have been great.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't do it. But, again, Van Dam would come out. He cut a really good promo from the heart. I think it was off script, right?
Yeah, it was all off script.
Yeah, and he just talked about what ECW meant to him and how much he loved it. Now he was the one that got the pay-per-view going. The only thing that sucked is that he couldn't compete.
Yeah, because he had an injured leg at the time. So because he had a torn ACL, and I think he had suffered that in late 2004 because he actually missed WrestleMania, which he had pointed out. But he said this sucks worse than even missing that. Mm-hmm. And then he would say that there were no creative geniuses behind this promo, and that he's going to go back to a time before his vocabulary was cut down to just whatever and cool. Yeah, his WWE promos, he never really got to really show that side of him as much. I mean, he had some tremendous performances, and he was one of the best performers that they had during that time he was there and that run that he had. And he too should one day be in the Hall of Fame for sure. But then him and Fonzie would talk about his TV title reign, and then he would ask him, what does RVD 420 stand for? And then they both say, I just smoked your ass. And then, because he actually had a 23-month reign as the ECW television champion.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's like a 2-year reign, basically. And the only reason why it ended is because he suffered an injury.
Yeah.
Which is, wow. RVD actually, I believe, has gone on a record to say that was actually, well, obviously ECW, that was like his favorite time of his career, but he actually thinks that the ECW TV title reign was like his best reign. That was like his favorite championship reign that he had, which is saying something because at one point in time, I know it didn't last for very long, but he was the WWE champion at one point in time as well. So it's crazy that, like, you know, being the TV champion in ECW like meant so much to his career, and he just felt that it meant so much more to him than even being, like, you know, at the pinnacle and being like at the top in WWE. So I think that really just is a testament to like what ECW just meant to him and like so many other people who were involved there.
Yeah, for sure.
And then he would say that he asked Vince to do this show, and he said that they didn't even need a storyline. And then he'd say at that point that, you know, it sucked missing out on the overseas tours, Booker T's wedding, and even WrestleMania. And then while he's doing this, he'd be interrupted by Rhino, who'd hit him with a gore.
He would destroy him. What?
Well,
I always forget how brutal the gore is.
Oh, the gore to me is like the best spear. The best version of a spear.
He just dives in. Like, he doesn't, like...
Yeah, and this was a great gore here. And then he'd start to attack him. I think he'd take his knee brace off, and he'd try to stomp on his leg, and then
the lights would go out.
And who would be in the ring? None other than the homicidal,
genocidal maniac.
Sabu.
Awesome moment. Huge pop from the crowd.
I love this segment as a whole.
Yeah. Of course, they'd have a short match, but it was mainly just to get the pop for Sabu coming in and saving RVD. Rob Van Dam, even though he couldn't move, would hit the Van Daminator and some other stuff.
Yeah, he would...
Fun to watch. Sabu would pick up the win, but like I said, just a really fun match. Really fun segment.
Yeah, no, I even like the match. It'd be, of course, we'd have an impromptu singles match that would start between Rhino and Sabu. So then Alfonso and RVD would remain in Sabu's corner, which, you know, that obviously makes sense for many reasons, but... So Sabu would get an assist from Alfonso with the chair, and then he'd take control. And then he tried to put Rhino through a table, but he'd be cut off, and then Rhino would beat on him a bit, and then he'd set up for a gore, but then Sabu would pull the referee in front of him to take the brunt out of it, and then RVD and then Fonzie would get involved, and then Sabu would hit the Arabian face buster through the table, and he'd pick up the win. Another short match, as you said. I believed it only got, like... Let me get the time here. 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So, like, once again, not another lengthy one. But, you know, it was fun. You know, it was cool to see RVD and Sabu and Fonzie together again. And, really liked it. I went with 3 1/4. And you went with 3. Well, we both liked it, so... So then after this, in the back, we'd have Al Snow, who was talking to Head.
Talking why he invited the SmackDown guys.
Yeah, because he
was upset that Head invited the SmackDown guys.
Yeah, he was saying that this is for the people who made ECW what it was, not a bunch of SmackDown assholes.
Yeah.
And then they'd do another video package highlighting even more classic ECW memories. And following that, the Raw Crusaders would arrive, led by Eric Bischoff.
With Eric Bischoff, who I think every single person in that arena wanted to murder.
Oh, probably. So, of course, Christian, Edge, Jonathan Coachman, Tomko. Well, Tomko basically went everywhere Christian went. Who were some other people who were there? I'm trying to think of.
did we? God, I gotta think now because all I remember was Edge. It
Oh,
was
Maven.
Edge.
Maven was there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Snitsky.
Snitsky, Rob Conway.
Yeah.
So then they'd arrive, and then next we would have Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero one-on-one. It's crazy that they were able to get this match here on this night, and like they never were able to really work it into like a program, say for like Raw or SmackDown, because these guys have obviously wrestled each other many times throughout the past, and that's really what helped build their relationship that both guys had with one another. Just those matches they'd had back in Japan, and just everything. But it's for some, this is probably kind of a weird match, I guess, to watch in some ways, just because of this was months away from Eddie unfortunately passing, and then just the history that him and Eddie and Benoit had together, and just just seeing how things would go for Benoit following the passing of Eddie, and so it's probably hard for some people maybe to watch this, which I understand, yeah. But it was a good match. It wasn't maybe as great as some may have hoped it could have been. But once again, they had like 10 minutes, 37 seconds, that they went with. And it wasn't like on a WWE pay-per-view. So, I don't know. Or, it was a WWE pay-per-view, but, this is just a ECW reunion show here. And I don't know.
Yeah, good match. There wasn't really a match on the show that blew me away. Well, there is one that was really good. That's the next one. We'll talk about that.
Oh, my God.
This was, it was cool to see. I was surprised that Eddie tapped out. I thought that was kind of shocking.
Yeah, I agree there, too. But they would announce Benoit's the Crippler and not the Rabid Wolverine, that he had adopted in WWE. And then, which I guess that's playing along with what other guys who were on the show had done, being, they're playing their old ECW roots. Eddie, on the other hand, wouldn't. He would just basically go with the current heel character he was playing at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crowd would chant more stuff at the Raw Crusaders during this. There was some physicality in this. Eddie would get slightly busted open at one point.
Yeah.
And then he'd miss the frog splash, and then that'd be kind of the turning point, and then Benoit would hit the headbutt. But, which, watching him do that, well, it wasn't like the diving headbutt, where either way, it's kind of hard seeing him do that move in hindsight. But, it wasn't like the one where he was, diving here. He would have, dropped and did the headbutt.
Yeah.
That's even, that one's even harder to watch.
Yeah, it's just hard to watch.
And then
it's hard to watch any Benoit match, really.
Yeah, as I said, going back and doing these rewinds and stuff, I've seen some Benoit matches. It's not. It is weird always, but it's not. The ones you watch further back from when the end of his life, if you go back and watch him further back, it's not as hard. But those one even here in 05, it's especially seeing against Eddie. Yeah, it's a lot harder to watch for sure. It's kind of an odd finish, though, because Benoit would get him with the crippler crossface and then Eddie would tap. It was kind of an odd finish just because it just happened kind of abruptly because the match was getting strong. And then it just kind of abruptly, just out of nowhere, just ended.
Yeah, like I said, this show was really all about just trying to fit in as many people as they could. Which is going to mean the matches aren't good, but like I said, it's not about the matches. It's just about celebrating ECW. Which is why I didn't really care if some of the matches weren't great. It was just fun to see Eddie in person in the ECW ring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just as they said. I don't remember if it was Foley or if I don't remember the Styles, but I think it was Foley. He said that was a match that Raw and SmackDown would have loved to have had.
Yeah.
So, but they're able to get it there at ECW One Night Stand. I think I also heard that there was a little bit of a confrontation after this between Eddie and Benoit because I guess Benoit was kind of hoping for a better match, but Eddie didn't really want to do the match in particular just because he didn't want to lose to Benoit because he didn't want to tap, and he just with